My learning literacy journey has been and still is a steady growing fire. Growing up, my family used to own many fire pits, standing around them, prodding, poking, and adding wood for it to grow. Together, these factors gave me the realization that my learning literacy journey is a steady growing fire. Over the course of my earlier years, my mother said I was always quiet, shy, and observant, much like the start of a small flame within the leaves. It wasn't until my time in prep began that I became aware that my reading skills were not up to the prep standards. Therefore, after completing an evaluation with a speech pathologist, my mum concluded that a book on a subject that I enjoyed would make me more likely to read repeatedly. I've always taken after my dad, so when it comes to my sense of humour, my mum gave me a joke book for my birthday, which I loved and memorised. After about a month, my reading had drastically improved, adding fuel to my literacy flame. When in primary school, our school always hosted large plays at the end of the school year. These plays brought out an unexpected enthusiasm within finding me readily dressing up and boasting to all my family and friends in preparation for this play. Attending drama classes in preparation taught me how to stand properly, have good posture, and express my words in proper tones and link emotions to the words that were written on paper. This experience taught me how to properly express my emotions, use body language as a means of expression, and recognize the link between facial expressions and emotions. This experience in dramatic representation left an imprint on me, which affected my everyday life and understanding other individuals' facial expressions. Emotions heard in tone and artistic expression within myself, which further fueled my raging flames. I grew up around a time when technology was growing rapidly and was introduced to my first electronic device at the age of 7. From there onwards, my literacy journey shifted to an online world in which the possibilities of growing were endless. The use of laptops and iPods/iPads were a major part of my everyday life, both in and out of school. Access to limitless apps helped me evolve my computer and typing skills, and the use of proper sentences on a keyboard, with which my speed and accuracy got faster. The quick introduction to all this new technology was much like taking a wood-lit fire to a gas-lit fire, with the output being more heat and a larger presence. My high school years were a journey taken alongside a tight-knit group of friends. This closeness and comfortability, although a blessing, seemed to hinder my ability and grow my literacy fire by relying on my family and friends when it came to my learning literacy journey. If I ever had a problem, they would always help me understand my feelings and with my rights and wrongs. Like how a fire needs the attentiveness to make sure it does not burst out of control. I didn't go to my first job until I was 17 due to the feeling that I didn't need one. But when I did, I applied to the local pizza store and got the job instantly without needing an interview. This meant I did not get to use my professional mannerisms that were needed. Instead, I was thrown straight in. During the first few weeks, I found it difficult to understand how to deal with customers. Answering the phones further encouraged and improved my professional speaking skills, adding more wood to my ever-growing flames. Sadly, only 1 month into that job, I was let go over missing one shift. This small mistake set me back a lot in my confidence, like an out-of-control wind that caused my flames to flicker with embarrassment. However, I refused to let that experience define me, and rather took it as a lesson to learn and grow from. Growing up, I would often visit my dad in America, where I was introduced and integrated into a different culture. What was unique about my time with family and friends in America was that although the spoken language is the same, the way in which things are expressed linguistically far different to that of the English language in Australia. The fiery tongue in which Americans speak in California is both fast-paced and quick. Throughout the years, I found myself easily adapting to the way in which vocabulary and language were used there. These experiences served as a fuel to the flame that is my personality and a way of verbal expression. When COVID hit in 2020, I was at the age where individuals were finding themselves partying and experimenting with the boundaries of what they could do and what they could express. But due to the pandemic, it felt like everything had been put on hold. We were not able to leave our home, and it felt like the air had been taken from my lungs and my flames had become weaker. I struggled a lot with online learning and not being able to socialize with my friends. The world felt as though it had come to a standstill. There was a lack of stimulation to fuel my flame, so I learnt to adjust, like how a flame adjusts to the sudden change in breeze, balancing itself as I attempted to balance this new life that was thrown upon us. I quickly adjusted to the usage of apps like Zoom, FaceTime, and other apps created using the pandemic to allow for healthy socialization during those isolating times. They offered me an opportunity to acquire new skills to enhance my literacy journey. Chess, reading, and puzzles were some activities that helped to keep my brain constantly learning new things, like how a fire feeds on its surroundings to survive and maintain its light. As the pandemic slowly becomes a thing of the past and the new normal, my mum decided to move to Queensland as a new change in the early year of 2022. This experience of having to quickly pack my things and move out was stressful, but an overall good learning curve, as it taught me many new things. I had to start becoming more independent, like buying new furniture for my unit, getting my own independent Medicare, and getting my driving hours up to acquire my license, all while adjusting to the new environment that was unfamiliar. The flames grew stronger in these new conditions, as it had enough wood and scraps to feed upon that the rain would only be a small bump in the road of growth. All these new things taught me how to understand the complicated ways of life and how to survive as an individual without the need for constant fuel being added to my flames, but instead can grow my flames on my own simply by being observant of my surroundings and feeding on what the world around me provides. I began another job at a restaurant at a cafe in Bendigo. When starting the job, I figured I would already have a good idea on what I would be doing, seeing as though I'd had another job dealing in customer service. But I was taken aback when I realized the true professionalism of this job and found myself having to change up my vocabulary and being corrected on how I stood. For example, arms were not allowed to be crossed, and you had to greet every individual that walked past the restaurant, even if it was obvious that they did not wish to be greeted. And we were not allowed to stand still and constantly had to be staying mobile. I found myself starting to struggle with the criticism that was constantly being given, and even started taking the criticism to heart and allowing it to affect me even after I clocked off, like a large jug of water that had been thrown on my flames, making me feel weak. But thankfully, I had the stable air and wood beneath me to encourage me, that being my friends and family, which allowed me to lean and feed on their good advice and encouragement. And I soon found that I was taking the criticism that I had been given and growing from it, and subconsciously started using the newly learnt vocabulary, mannerisms, and body stances in my everyday life, rather than allowing for it to suffocate the flames, hence growing my flames ever so slightly. After my taste of independence, I started living with my dad, stepmom, and little siblings. I started finding that the habits that I had learned and handled throughout my life, they were mirroring, and I was able to pass on the words and knowledge that I gained throughout my experiences in life and pass on to them, like the lighting of a small candle using the large flames that I'd grown throughout my life, creating a new light and path for my siblings to follow. But my journey doesn't end here, as my flames will only grow stronger and more durable when facing the harsh climates and surroundings. Thank you!